Hi guys, and welcome back to the Emily Knits podcast channel. My name is Emily. I am a knitter and crocheter in my mid-30s, based in the north of Nottinghamshire in the UK, where I live with my now husband and our 2 dogs close to Sherwood Forest in the UK. I've said that a bit already. I've got a traditional format podcast again for you today, my sort of weekly update, weekly roundup. I'm a bit late getting this out, so apologies in advance for that. This is hopefully coming out on Monday. I am filming it on Monday, the 2nd of December. Normally I would film on the Thursday, Friday, and then it comes out for you guys over the weekend. And I'm conscious I've just missed the weekend. But I was travelling for work on Thursday, which just completely threw me off. It was a really long day of travelling. I travelled down to London for work. I was out of the house at 6:30 in the morning. I didn't get back till, 8:15 on the evening. So, yeah, it was a long day. It completely threw me off. I was wiped out the next day and I just haven't had a chance to film. So my aim is to get this filmed, hopefully get it edited and up today. Hopefully we have minimal editing because I haven't really got a lot of time to do that. And then we'll be back on schedule. I'll film again towards the end of the week for the weekend and we will be back on the weekly schedule because I am really enjoying doing it weekly for you. I should also say if I look tired, it's because I am. I woke up at 4 o'clock this morning and couldn't get back to sleep. I have quite disturbed sleep at the best of times. I'm a very light sleeper and I quite often find it quite hard to get to sleep. So it is not unusual for me. Please don't feel like you've got to give me suggestions. I've struggled with this for most of my adult life and I've tried pretty much everything in the book. So I'll be fine. I will sleep properly tonight, I've no doubt. But yeah, if I look tired, it's because I am. It's because I am. And you will probably notice as well that we are in a different location today. I'm hoping the light and the sound and everything are okay because we are in a different spot. But I really wanted to get the Christmas tree in because we are now in December and it felt nice to have some sort of festive decor, I guess. Yeah, so without any further waffle, we'll jump into it. I'll very briefly mention what I'm wearing and where you can find me, and then we will get into what I've been doing this week. There's been quite a lot of knitting. There's been one finished object, a couple of new projects, something I've not worked on at all that I said I was gonna, and some progress on the other things. So yeah, let's get going. Where can you find me before we get into it properly? So you can find me, please feel free to comment down below if you want to. Once you've watched this, I am always fairly active in the comments, particularly the first, like I say, 2-3 days after upload. I try and keep an eye on them. There you can also find me on Instagram as @Emily_knits_, which is the same name as the channel name. You can find me on Ravelry as Emily Knits 36. I do have a wish list on Ravelry if you wanted to support me by buying a pattern on there. Thank you to those of you that already have. I have a couple of patterns in my repertoire now in my library that I didn't have before, and I really appreciate that. I cannot wait to cast those on. So thank you so much if you're one of the people that's already done that. You can contact me via email if you have any questions, any queries, anything you don't want to ask in the comments. And also feel free to do that on Ravelry, I should say as well. I've had somebody reach out this week with a question. I think they felt a bit uncomfortable about reaching out to me, but honestly, there's no stupid questions. Please feel free. If there's anything I've missed or you're unsure of anything or you want some more information on anything, please feel free to reach out through the Ravelry or email or wherever. You can find me on email as well, like I say, excuse me, at emilyknitspodcast@gmail.com. And you can also find me on Ko-fi as Emily Knits if you wanted to support me, but you don't fancy buying any of those patterns that are on my Ravelry wish list. You can contribute through there as well. And again, thank you to those of you that already have. I really do appreciate it massively from the bottom of my heart. And what am I wearing? That's the other thing, isn't it? So this is, I think I've worn this on the podcast before. This is my Basic Bee cardigan, which is a pattern by Beckie Designs. I test knit this for Beckie probably about 2 years ago now, 1.5 years, something like that. This is a long, oversized cardigan with a big shawl collar, completely free of buttons, knit in Drops Wish, I think it is, on 8-9mm needles. So it's a really nice loose gauge, airy fabric, very light, but because it's a blown yarn, as it just Drops Wish, very nice and warm. It is a bit scruffy. Drops Wish tends to pill quite well. You're not going to be able to, you can see it there. So it looks nice on camera from a distance, but in person and up close, it is quite bobbly. But this is the most comfy thing. I wear this so much because it's so easy to throw over, and it's light, but it's really nice and warm. So yeah, very highly recommend this. This is, I think Drops Wish is the recommended yarn for the pattern. And I would definitely knit it again in that. Okay, so let's jump into it then. First thing that I'm going to show you is a finished object, sort of, because I haven't quite woven my ends in. And it was one of the things that I said on the podcast last week that I needed to finish. So I finished my Tilly scarf test knit for Chai Crafts. This is folded in half. It's a lot longer than that. This is one of those little shawlette things, like a Sophie scarf, I guess. But if I come up a bit closer, you might be able to see, yeah, it's got a lovely moss stitch texture to it. I haven't woven the ends in, like I said, but that's just me. So let me just get this out of the way, because this is a bit too close around my neck, and I'm going to try and style it and show you. I haven't actually properly tried this. I said last time I've always sort of poo-pooed these little shawlette scarflet things, and realised that I should probably actually try one. I've decided they won't suit me without actually trying them. I did, when I put it on the other day to try it and see how it was fitting after it had been blocked, I did really like having something quite warm there. It was nice. Do you know what? That's quite nice. I don't like it with my hair up. I think with hair down it would look better. With hair up, I feel like it makes my face look really fat. That might just be me. But yeah, I don't like that it sort of cuts me off there. But I think with a different top and with my hair down, this would actually look quite nice. And I do like having that little warm bit around my neck. So this is going to be a free pattern. I think it's going to be released on her blog either today or tomorrow. It's going to be released very shortly. It's a free pattern. It's really nice and simple. Let's say it's like an equivalent to the Sophie scarf, but rather than being garter stitch, which I think is the Sophie scarf is, this is moss stitch, which is really, really fun to knit. Very therapeutic, sort of mindless little knit. It was really quick, actually. It was really quick. It only took me a couple of days to knit, and I can't remember the yardage I used, but I will pop it on screen. But I used a skein of John Arbon Yarnadelic Sport that I had in stash in the shade Black Gold of the Sun, and I've still got a big chunk of the ball left. It wasn't many. I feel like it was just under 200 metres of yarn. I think it was like 199.8 metres of yarn, so it was really close, or 198.9, really close to 200 metres. And so it'd be a really good stash buster. It'd be a really nice little gift if you have people in your life that wear these kind of things, that would like them. And if you want something that's an alternative to the Sophie scarf, but still has that same kind of vibe and is free, this is a really good one. So really, really like this. Sana also, I'll double check if it's still running, but I know as of the day of yesterday when I was on Instagram, she's been running a pattern sale. She's got quite a lot of really, really gorgeous patterns. I've got one of her patterns in reward for testing this that I'm going to be knitting fairly shortly, I hope, because it's really beautiful. So yeah, highly recommend you go check her out. One of them actually I think would be really good for Advent. She's got a pattern called the Scrapnificent Sweater. There is a free version on her blog, but there is also a paid for version. And the whole point of that is that it uses really small scraps of yarn. So you could use leftover bits from Advent, you could use full Advents if you wanted to make it stripy, because I think she has instructions in there for how to make it stripy as well. And it's a really interesting pattern. So yeah, highly recommend that one as well. So this is the finished Tilly scarf. What do we think? Do you like it? Do you not? I can imagine this under a coat as well would look really nice. As it is, looks a bit weird, doesn't it? But I do like it. I think I'm going to be keeping it. I don't think it's going to be going to someone else. It's nice and warm. So that is that one. I've just realised as well, 2 secs, this is going to rustle because I've left my notepad underneath the microphone. So let me just get that out. Okay, hopefully that wasn't too loud. I think I did write some notes in here about when I started working on this and everything. So let's just have a look. So yeah, Tilly Scarf by Chai Crafts. I cast that on, where's it gone? I cast it on the 18th of November. I cast it off on the 23rd, I think. I'll double check that and I'll put it on screen. Yeah, it didn't take me very long at all. The increase and decrease bits took a little bit more focus because you've got to do every so often, every certain number of rows. Oh, I'm now in the wrong position. There we go. Every certain number of rows you do an increase or a decrease. So I needed to keep track of that. But this middle section where you're just sort of knitting back and forth, no increase and decrease, and was really, really satisfying and mindless. So yeah, very pleased with that. Like I said, John Arbon, Yarnadelic, Black Gold of the Sun, which is 100% Falklands Corriedale. It's a sport weight. It's 333 metres per 100 grams. And I used about 200 metres of this on 3mm needles to make this pattern. The Black Gold of the Sun is £19 per 100 gram skein, so it certainly isn't cheap. I had this in stash already, but I wouldn't buy, well, I would if it was for a gift for someone. But yeah, you could use this with all sorts of stuff. I think you could probably even adjust needle sizes and stuff to make it for a bigger or a smaller yarn. So yeah, very, very much like this. And I think you can see quite well in the colours there. There's a lot of nuance to the colour. It's overall a really deep green, but there is a lot of nuance to it. So very, very nice yarn. So that is the first finished object, and the first thing I said I was going to finish last week. So that's done, that's handed in. I could do with taking some pictures, but Sana has been really understanding that you don't need pictures. You know, if you can give us some, great. If not, it's okay. So the thing I've not made any progress work on was the gloves. So these were the very basic Dancing at Lughnasa gloves by Carroll Gilmour that I showed last week, that I was knitting out of World of Wool Fluff in the shade Fuzzy Duck from my other half. For whatever reason, I've not picked those up at all this week. I just haven't fancied them. So they are still on the list to continue. Haven't made any progress on that. And the other thing that I have made progress on, but like I said, I'm not going to show every week because it's looking the same basically, is my blanket, my Be More Vivienne, or my festive Vivienne blanket, which is by Tarry, who is the Borough on Instagram. That is now, so essentially, you'll remember from last time, that is a big tartan style crochet blanket, and you knit loads of vertical rows, and then you go back and you put in the other way. Every time you do loads of horizontal rows, and then you go back and do the vertical stripes afterwards that make it look like tartan. And I've currently completed one repeat of the horizontal pattern, and you just keep doing that. I think it's like 4.5 more times until you get the certain size, and then you go back and do the vertical. So I have completed now another stripe plus another bit. So I'm not quite at another full repeat, not quite at 2 full repeats, but not far off. And I'm still really enjoying knitting on that, crocheting on that. It's really, really satisfying. I'm getting a lot of enjoyment out of that. I'll see if I can pop in a picture of what it's looking like or how far I've got. But like I say, not going to go through it on every episode because it's basically just, look, I've done some more red and green rows. But yeah, really enjoying that. That is a 5mm hook, and I'm using Yarnsmith's Create Aran. All of the details of that are on last week's podcast. I went through it in a bit more detail. So if you want to see the colours and things like that, go for that. Or you can go and look at the pattern on Ravelry. So you buy the Be More Vivienne pattern. In there is a separate document that is the festive Vivienne, and I've literally bought exactly the yarn in there. She used Yarnsmith's Create Aran to create that colourway, and I've bought exactly the recommended amounts and exactly the recommended yarn. So the colourways are on that pattern as well. The site, you know what I mean. So that is progressing nicely, and I am really, really enjoying that. That's now been on the hooks, on the needles, on the hooks. I've been working on that since the 14th of November. We're now on the 2nd of December, so we're coming up to, 3 weeks, something like that. Which is not bad really for a crochet blanket, and I'm probably about I'm under halfway through the body, through the horizontal rows. But we will get there eventually. The other ones that I need to show you I actually do have here. So the next one to talk about is the sample I'm knitting for Woolly Knit, which is their Amelia cardigan. Excuse the rustling because I've got the paper pattern here. This is this one. I'm knitting a sample for them in their cream Aran cones. I think that's exactly what it is, isn't it? Aran weight 400 gram cone in the shade Natural Cream. I really rate Woolly Knit. I've spoken about them so many times. This is probably about my 15th time knitting with their stuff, and I really, really enjoy it. I said last week that I wanted to finish one of the fronts. I'd finished the back panel. So this is a cardigan that is knit in pieces from the bottom up and then seamed together at the end. And I knit the back panel. I'd finished all of that. And I think, had I started on the front? I don't think I'd even started the front, had I? I needed to go on to the front. So I have now finished. This needs blocking, so it's very curly, but I've finished my left front. See if I can hold this a bit better so you can see the pattern. Complete with pocket, which is not sewn down on the inside yet, but complete with pocket, which needs sewing and everything, but again needs blocking because the ribbon and everything is a bit uneven, and all the shaping up the top. That's all done, and then I have made a considerable start on the second as well. So this is the right front. This is going to be the right front. Again, pockets there. I haven't done the ribbon on the pocket yet. You can see, I don't know if this is a normal way to do pockets. This is just how it tells you to do it in the pattern. I've never put pockets in anything I've knit before, so I don't know if this is normal or not. But essentially you knit some pocket liners, put them on hold, When you get to the point where you put your pocket in, you put a certain number of stitches on hold at the front, and then instead of casting on stitches or anything, you pick up the stitches from your pocket liner, which is the same number of stitches as your pocket front, and you just continue knitting flat but with that bit attached. And then I'm assuming, although it doesn't actually say it in the pattern, which seems like a little bit of an oversight, I'm assuming you sew that down at the end, and then I'm assuming you sew the lining in at the end, and then you go back in and you pick up here and you work some rib. Excuse my laptop. So yeah, progressing nicely. This is where I was yesterday, so all of this is since yesterday morning I've worked all of this. And then this, this is a week's work, plus this. So I'm very pleased on this. This has taken up a lot of my time, and it needs to, really, because I need to get the sample done and sent back so I can be paid for it, which would be quite nice. So yeah, this is progressing nicely. Next week I would like to have, this is probably, where's that come from? This is probably ambitious, but I'd like to have this front done. I don't think that's ambitious. I think that's fairly doable. But I'd like to have this front done. I'd like to have a sleeve done. Is that doable? That's probably not doable, but I'd like to have a sleeve maybe halfway done, progressed, because I'd really like to get this done and sent back so I don't have to think about it anymore. So yeah, this is progressing nicely. This yarn is beautiful to work with. I think it's fairly affordable. It's woolly knit, so it probably will be. It comes in 400 gram cones. Have I written down what's in here? No. It comes in 400 gram cones. It's really, really nice and soft. And this is this is worked on 4.5mm needles for the rib and 5mm needles for the main pattern. And yeah, really enjoying it. I'm getting to the point where I'm a bit bored of it now, just because it's the same cable pattern all the time. But it does look great, and I think it will look absolutely fab when it is seamed together and everything. Excuse my laptop again, let me just put that on mute. Okay, the next one to talk about is another one that we talked about last week, and I said I was going to progress, and I've done more on this than I said I was going to. As last week, I am finding this super, super satisfying to work on. And I'm finding it's, whenever I work on it, I really want to work on it. So I have a stitch marker in this from where I was last time. This is my West Sands Pullover test knit, which is for Rebecca of Journey Through Yarn. And I was, where is it? I was there last time. So I was just at the beginning of the second colour work stripe, and I'd said I wanted to complete another colour work stripe and another stockinette stripe by next time. So we've got the neck done. We've got the first colour work stripe. And we now have very nearly, what's going on here? Very nearly 2 more full colour work stripes done. This is so satisfying to knit. I really, really enjoy it. It's textured colour work. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you can actually. It's textured colour work, and it's absolutely beautiful, really satisfying to knit. And I really like that it's a 10-row colour work repeat and then a 10-row stockinette portion. So it makes it really nice and satisfying to just do another bit and another bit and another bit. And just about when you're getting bored of doing the colour work, you're onto a stockinette bit. And then just about when you're getting bored of doing the stockinette bit, you're onto a colour work bit. So very satisfying. I am knitting this in. The main colour is Woolly Knit Warth Mill DK in the shade Light Natural Grey, which is 100% British wool. This is not one of their cone yarns. This is one of their ball yarns, and you can see that sort of tone shift and everything there. It's beautiful. This creamy caramelly beige around the top, and that's also in the colour work, the sort of main zigzag bits in the colour work is Tuku Wool DK in the shade Hiesu. Hair, always hair on it, and actually there's some foliage on it there. There is a shade in there that you can't see the difference very well on camera, so I'll show you it. I always find this is an issue. There's another shade of Tucker Wool in there, which is the shade Repo, which is, it's not showing up very well. Essentially, the middle is red, and then these bits are this sort of orangey colour. There is a difference in real life, although I will admit it's not super stark. But that is the shade Repo. And then the red in the middle is Loch Lomond DK in the shade Fire Red from BC Gam. And you can see they are quite different colours, but they are next to each other. And because it's textured colour work, there are pearl stitches in there as well, which are, yeah, I think they are almost adding to it, melding together a little bit more. But yeah, super, super happy with this. I think looking at everybody else's versions in the test knit and also what length I've got at the moment, I think I probably need to do one more, finish this colour work, do a stockinette, do another colour work and another stockinette, and then I'll be ready for the rib. So I'm hoping by next week. Do you think I can have the body done? It's got like 2.5 inches of rib at the bottom. It's got like 2.5 inches of rib at the bottom to do. I'd love to be done that and onto a sleeve. I sort of think it's doable because when I pick this up, it's all I want to work on. I fly through it. So I think maybe. I hope so because I can't wait to wear this. It's so stunning. So beautiful. Very, very pleased with it. I also can't wait to block it because you can see when I was holding it up then it's rippling where the colour work is, but I think this is going to block out beautifully because all of these, the Wharf Mill is 100% British wool, the Tucker wool is both 100% Finnish wool, and then the Loch Lomond is 100% organic wool, I think. So they're all 100% wool. It's very warm, woolly, not super heavy, although it's not, it's not the lightest garment either. But yeah, to say where I am on it, it's not super heavy. And yeah, I can't wait to wear this. It's going to be such a wonderful, wonderful piece. So progression on that will be happening this week. And then we have a couple of other cast-ons. So these are both test knits and they're both socks. One is very nearly done. I was hoping to get it done for today, but I haven't been able to. So I'll show you this one first, and then we'll talk about the other one, which came into play when I was travelling last week. So this is a test knit for Hannah of Herbgarden Knitwear. She reached out and asked if I'd be open to test knit some socks for her. She's just released a pattern, by the way, that is absolutely gorgeous. She's just released a pattern called the Cozy Season Socks. And they're super cute. They're super cute for this time of year, so I would highly recommend them. I am going to be knitting myself a pair, definitely. Excuse me. These beauties are the Vinter Socks. I am very nearly done. I'm onto the toe, so I've got the toe to knit, but you can see they've got this beautiful colour work on them. Look at that. And then the same colour work on the toe. Well, before the toe, and then I'm into the toe for the first sock. They have a... excuse me. They have a plain stockinette. What is this? Heel flap and heel turn, which I really like actually. And then gusset decreases and everything. And they've got a tubular cast on with a little pop of your contrast colour at the cuff to give it a little bit of interest. I have knit these in, my contrast colour is Drops Fable in the shade Off-White. That's just my small circular needles stuck in it so I don't lose them, because I've currently got it on long 2.5mm needles to knit the toe magic loop. And then the main colour is a crazy Zauberball in the shade, I think it's Schokoladentrinken. And also, first off, that might be wrong. Second off, my pronunciation isn't very good. I will put the colourway name on screen and the number and everything, or down in the description. This is really, really beautiful. I've had so much fun working with this and it's such a nice yarn. Obviously I realise this bit isn't for everybody. So of course, because you knit down the leg, then you do your heel flap, then you come back up here, you split your colour change. Does that make sense? Your colour change just doesn't go seamlessly down. And if you wanted to avoid that, the way to do it would be to do a contrast heel. I didn't do that because that's not in the pattern. And I also thought it would look weird with a big block of white there. But yeah, you could do that. You absolutely could do that, even if you just knit down a little bit and started maybe there or something. But you definitely could do that. I chose not to because it doesn't bother me that much. These are also for my other half as a Christmas present. It definitely doesn't bother him because he's had it on other socks, and I've commented on it before and said I'm sorry about that. I'm annoyed with how that looks, and he's gone, they're handmade. They're going to have stuff like that. It's absolutely fine. But yeah, it starts in this sort of reddy browny colours. It goes through all of those, then it goes into this beautiful, really deep red, back into some brighter reds, and then we actually have some black and grey and some proper tan colours in here as well, and then it's going into that sort of bright orangey red again for the toe. And then the second one will look completely different because there's different colours to come, and I love that. I realise that's not for everybody, but I love this. And weirdly, I bought these two together, or I bought this and then I bought this to go with it, intending to do some colour work socks. I was going to design something myself. That clearly never happened, but these are beautiful. So I really want these to be the thumbnail, but my other half will see them. So yeah, they're not going to be going in the thumbnail. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to find something different for the thumbnail. But yeah, I'm so happy with these. These were really addictive as well. I cast these on I think it was Saturday last week. And then on Sunday night, I thought, I'm just going to do a little bit. I think I'd done the cuff and maybe 2 rows of the I'd done the I don't know what you call it, the contrast pop at the edge of the cuff. And then a couple of rows of the ribbon. And I picked it up thinking, I've got a little bit of time before I go to bed. I'll try and knit the cuff and get ready to do the colour work. Maybe just start the colour work the next day. I got halfway down the heel flap on Sunday evening. I didn't want to put them down. They're super satisfying. It's a really easy to remember colour work chart. There's no need for catching. And it flies because it's such a small little, I think it's probably only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 7 rows for one of these little things. So that goes really, really quickly. And it just flew off the needles, and yeah, super happy with them. Can't wait to see how they're going to look with this once the toe's done and you can see them in all the glory. Because it's quite hard to show. There you go, that's a bit better. It's quite hard to show as it is. I really want that to be the thumbnail. Maybe we do. But yeah, super happy with these. They're going to be coming out. I think the test knit ends on the 4th of December. And they're going to be coming out probably fairly quick after that, I think. They are so good. Would really highly recommend you check them out. Small circumference colour work is normally quite challenging, and I wouldn't really recommend it for a beginner. But honestly, I think you could probably do this. So yeah. Very highly recommend, as with all of Hannah's patterns. But how how beautiful. I can't get over that. And then the next sock, I wasn't going to cast this on. This is another test knit. This is a test knit for In Her Skein, who I test knit for earlier in the year, my secret cardigan that I couldn't show you. This is not a secret, I can show you. And in my best Italian accent, because I'm sure this is an Italian word, it says in the pattern it's an Italian word. These are the Prato Socks. You've got to do that, haven't you? No, you haven't. That's really stereotypical. I think that's how you're supposed to say them. I'm sure it's not Prato, which is what I was calling them earlier in the week. And, oh, I've lost a stitch. Hang on. I wasn't going to cast these on until I'd finished the Vinter Socks, or finished the first one at least. But like I mentioned, excuse me, like I mentioned, I was travelling for work last week, and I got to sort of Tuesday, and I travelled to London. It was a long day. It was a fantastic day. I really, really, I work most of the time from home. And I'm going to touch on that actually at the end, I think, because in fact, we'll do it now. I've had a couple of people comment on how much I'm able to knit, and I realise I am able to knit quite a lot. And I wanted to sort of explain that, because a couple of people had said, how do you do that alongside keeping a house and stuff like that? And I wanted to sort of explain a bit better. So I am very, very lucky in that I get to work from home 90% of the time. I was hired for my business during COVID, when obviously everything was shut down and it was quite difficult to find. They were really struggling to find talent local to their offices, so they started hiring people remotely, and I was one of the hires that was made as part of that. 90% of the time I work from home solely, and I travel as needed into the offices. When I do travel, it is further afield. It's either to the southwest, to the northwest, or to London. So we're sort of smack bang in the middle of all of that. So it is fairly, the shortest travel I do is 2 hours each way. But if I go down to the southwest, I stay over. If I go down to London, I go on the train. So I use those opportunities when I am travelling to take knitting with me as well. If I'm staying in a hotel, I'm going to take some knitting for the evening after I've spent some time with my colleagues and things, socialising. And I took some train knitting as well when I went the other day. But being able to work from home most of the time really does free up some time for knitting, and it isn't necessarily that I knit while I'm at work, although there are some periods when I can. There are some meetings that I need to join where it is literally your camera's turned off, your mic's turned off, you listen to what's being said, you're not expected to contribute. There's a Q&A and you can contribute if you want, but you don't have to. And during those I'm able to knit, things like that where I don't have to contribute. And I also am able to knit in breaks from work. If I have a 5-minute break because I've been staring at the laptop all morning, I can pick up my knitting and do some work. The way that it benefits me mostly is that I'm able on my lunch break and breaks from work to do a lot of chores. So I can do a quick hoover, or I can do the washing up, or I can put a load of washing on and then I can get it out in the next break. And it really frees up a lot of time on the evening. And the other thing that really, really helps that I cannot put enough credit to is that my other half and I, it made me realise that it's so unusual. It's not so unusual, that it's maybe unusual to some people when this person said, it's amazing that you do this along with keeping a home. And the thing is that keeping a home isn't my own it's just my responsibility. My husband and I split it between us. So we both work full time. We both earn very similar amounts of money. He works more hours in the week and he physically goes into the office, although that suits him far better than it suits me. I like working from home. He doesn't get on as well with it. But we split the chores very much 50-50, as well as the financial responsibility for the house. So he does all the cooking. He loves it. He's far better at it than me. He really enjoys it. It's his decompress from the day. So he does that. I do all the laundry. I do some of the hoovering. He does some of the hoovering. We take it in turns to do things like the cleaning toilets and things like that. We split everything between us, and it really does free up a lot of time when there's two people doing it. Also, because I work from home and because I'm able to do some of those chores during the day, when I finish work at 5 o'clock, the only thing that needs doing are the dogs need walking, which we do together. And then we need to cook some food, but he does that. So yeah, I finish work at 5 o'clock, and rather than having a 45-minute to an hour and a half like I always would have had previously, I'm at home and most of the chores are already done. And so I am able to get a lot more done than I realise some other people. And I just wanted to clarify that, because I do realise I'm super lucky to be able to do that. I do really genuinely do realise that, and I'm very, very grateful for it. So I just wanted to sort of acknowledge that, basically, that it's only because I've got help and because of the way that my setup works in terms of being at home. We also don't have kids, things like that. So the only thing we have to look after other than ourselves is the dogs. And I realise if you've got kids, it's a bit different. You're probably not going to get a lot of free time. So yeah, that's how I'm able to knit so much. I can also knit and purl without looking. I can't do anything complicated without looking, but I can knit and purl without looking. So that does help, because I can be watching telly with my other half. I can be watching him play one of his games, something like that. And I can be knitting at the same time, and I can still be engaging. So yeah, that's how I knit so much, basically. That being said, so I wanted to make the most of 3 hours on the train, basically, on Thursday. I had an hour and a half train journey there and an hour and 40-minute train journey back. So I wanted to take advantage of that. And I knew I didn't want to take colour work. I didn't want to take cables. I didn't want to take anything that required multiple balls of yarn. And I didn't really have anything. And I also didn't fancy the gloves, because DPNs, I was going to have to start putting stitches on hold, things like that. Didn't fancy that on a train to London in rush hour that's going to be packed, and it was. And I knew these Prato socks they've got a really intricate cuff, and then the rest of them is all stockinette. So my entire aim was to get them cast on, get them through the cuff, and then have some sock knitting on the train, which is exactly what happened. So this is the cuff. I have, again, picked some quite variegated yarn, so it's quite hard to show. It's got these lovely details of twisted stitches and bobbles to create these almost sort of tree-like structures or plant-like structures. And then I finished that. It's got a lateral braid as well around the bottom of the cuff. I finished that, and then I left it there. And then this is the duration of 2 train journeys. So I'm not a super quick knitter. That was 3 hours, and I got I'm now ready for the heel. I did stop once I got to the point where I was ready for the heel, because I didn't fancy trying to do that on the train. But yeah, this is where we're at with these. So I'm knitting the 68 stitch size. Yeah, 68 stitch size, I'm pretty certain it is. So not the very biggest, but the one down from that. And this is a colourway from Blue Fern Yarns in her sock base, which is a 75-25 sock base, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and this is in the shade Plum Crumble. And it's absolutely beautiful. It's so stunning. The yarn's really nice and soft. I'm certain it will block nicely, because I've used her sock yarn before, albeit I've crocheted with it. But the colours, these are not normally my kind of colours, purples and pinks and things, but it's so, so gorgeous. And Plum Crumble is such a good name for it. It's really nice. It was really satisfying knitting it up. And I do think this isn't showing very well because of the lighting, but in actual daylight, it is much more visible, the detail on the cuff. So yeah, this is due on the 16th of December, I think. So I've got quite a while on this, but yeah, I'm ready for the heel flap and gusset on the first sock. It's got a relatively short leg, So I'm ready for the cuff on the first sock. No, I'm not. I'm ready for the heel flap and gusset on the first sock. And then it's just a stockinette foot and heel toe when you get to it and everything like that. I don't know if it's an anatomical toe. Can't remember. I'll update when I get to it. I'd like to get this sock finished in the next week, but it's not priority. I want to get this done obviously for the test knit, but then these are going to be for me. They're not going to be for anyone else. So there's no deadline to get them done by Christmas or anything like that. I just want to get them done to be able to use up some stash yarn, because I've had this since I sample knit for Shannon earlier in the year. And I'm losing a stitch again. I'm knitting these on 2.5mm small circulars, and again I will do the same as I did on these and on the Giverny socks. I will go to my long circulars and do the heel flap and gusset magic loop, and then I'll do the toe magic loop as well, but the rest of it I'll do on small circulars. So yeah, these were, I'd say I wasn't intending to cast them on. I cast them on Tuesday last week, which we will, the 26th of November, I think. Let me double check for you. Yeah, cast them on the 26th of November. We are now on the 7th of December, 2nd of December. So they've been on the needles for just under a week. But literally, I knit the cuff over Tuesday and Wednesday, and then this was all worked on Thursday, and then I've not done anything on them since. And I'm most likely I'll finish the Vinter Socks, and then I'll probably work on these some more when I want something smaller, because everything else is big projects at the moment, other than the gloves, but I haven't picked them up for a bit. Yeah, so that is the Prato Socks. That's a bit, is it a bit better there? No, they're just not showing up very well in the light. The cuff was challenging but interesting. That's the best way to put it. The instructions are very well written, so just follow what it tells you to do. But it is fairly intense. What I do like that she does, and I wish more designers did sometimes, is she puts in there that row X, Y, and Z, where the bobbles are very time consuming, and they will be a bit challenging. Don't be disheartened. It's all right. That's normal. And I sometimes wish, because I'm a nightmare for something is a bit harder than I expect it to be, and I get frustrated and decide I'm rubbish at knitting and I can't do it, so I'm just going to put it down. But yeah, she put that in there. There's twisted stitches, there's twisted past slip stitch overs, things like that. There's bobbles in there as well, so it is fairly intense. But once you get through that on the cuff, you're done and you're onto your stockinette socks. So I like that, definitely, and I think these are really, really fun. I don't know when they're going to be coming out. Like I say, the test knit runs to the 16th of December, so they're probably going to be coming out probably this side of Christmas. But yeah, they're beautiful, very well written, as was the cardigan that I tested for her. Extremely well written. I've not found any single issue, and I don't think anybody else really has either. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. This is the plum crumble in the skein, just to give you a bit more of an idea. In the ball, I've already skeined it up. And I also wanted to briefly talk about the bag that I've got them in, which is this lovely little thing. I have never really spoken about project bags. I think I mentioned I'd got some from Down Duckpool Lane. And I've got an assortment that I've sort of gathered over the years, but I've not got many. I've probably only got about 5 project bags that I sort of use interchangeably. And I tend to use organza bags from Wool Warehouse quite a lot, or tote bags as well I use. But these I spotted in Primark of all places. Now, they're not project bags. They are intended to be... What's in that? I think that's my cable needle that I've been looking for. Yes, it is. I've been looking for that. Oh well, there we go. They are intended as like reusable fabric wrapping for presents. They were in the home section of Primark in Leeds, I think, when I went with my mum. They come in packs of 2, and I feel like they were £4 for 2, so not very expensive. And there was this pattern, and I think there was another one that had some gonks on the front of it, something like that. And they are just these fabric drawstring bags. They've got no pockets or anything inside. But they're really quite... This is the bigger size that comes in there, and the other one that comes with it is smaller. And really, a sock would fit better in the smaller one, but this was just the one that I grabbed when I wanted something to take them in my bag on the train. And yeah, really affordable, really useful kind of little alternatives to project bags, basically. It's essentially the same as a Wool Warehouse organza bag. There's no pockets or anything, but you've got a drawstring at the top. Nice and sturdy. And as you say, I think they were about £4 for 2, for a pack of 2. So yeah, I wanted to mention those. Otherwise, I think that's everything I've got to talk about. Yeah, it's been a busy week. We're now on the countdown to Christmas, really. That that travel to London was big. I knew I had it coming. I knew I needed to do it. I don't go to London very often. I haven't been to London for a very long time, so it was a bit daunting, but actually it was perfectly fine. I really enjoyed it, and like I said, massively beneficial going into our office. It always is. My other half also last week had his audit at work. That comes around for him every 6 months, and whenever that's done, it's then countdown to Christmas. That's the big bit done, and we're then on the countdown to Christmas, so we are very much there, especially given that we've now put the tree up yesterday on the 1st of December. I have started a couple of Advent projects, because I have got a couple of Advents. I haven't shown them on here because I am actually, despite saying I'm not going to do Vlogmas, I'm not going to do proper Vlogmas, but I am going to try. Usually the moment I put it out into the world on here is when it doesn't happen. I'm going to try and do some like weekly Vlogmas. I don't know how interesting it will be. I think the first couple of weeks might be a bit dull, because basically I'm going to be sat at home working. But then we have some more interesting things at the end of the year. So at the end of the year towards Christmas. So hopefully they will be interesting. And I've shown my Advent patterns and things like that in there, and I've shown me working on them and unwrapping the Advents. So that will hopefully be coming. I'm aiming to put that out on Sunday next week, and yeah, we'll be back to the normal weekly schedule next week, hopefully with a video on Saturday or Sunday next week. Thank you for your patience, because I appreciate this is not, I'd said I was going to do it weekly. I managed 2 weeks with 1 week in a row, and then I've gone off schedule. But like I said, it isn't down to will of me not wanting to do it, and it's not down to me not having enough wanting to talk about. It is just down to timing, and hopefully now my work tends to get a bit quieter towards the end of the year, because people start going on Christmas holidays and things like that, and there isn't as much for us to do. And with that trip out of the way, I'm hoping that now things are going to start quietening down a little bit, which will mean my time is freed up a bit more. Just so that, when it's busy, you end up working through lunch and stuff like that, don't you? And also when it's busy, my head is very much in work mode. It isn't necessarily in podcasting mode. So yeah, we've got some more space to do the vlogs, hopefully. Some keeping going with the weekly theme. But yeah, it's been really good to catch up with you guys again. Let me know what you're working on. I really love knowing what you're working on down below. I've found so many things through inspiration from you guys mentioning patterns that I've never heard of before, that I then go and look up, that I never would have heard of. So yeah, please feel free to let me know what you're working on. And I will catch up with you next week. If you have enjoyed, don't forget to like and subscribe. I say this every time. We are heading towards 1,000 subscribers. We're getting there. We're not far off 900 now. And I would really love to get to 1,000 before the 1 year anniversary of the podcast, of the channel, which is the 4th of January. So we are getting there. And yeah, it genuinely makes me really, really happy to see you like and subscribe, and to see your comments below. I really love it. So please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Share it with people that you think might like it. And I will see you next week. Have a good week, guys, and I'll catch up with you soon. Bye.